In the order, roll please.
Showalter.
Here.
Myers.
Here.
Howard.
Here.
Redland.
Here.
Thompson.
Here. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening, everybody. We have anybody signed up for public comment tonight? Yes, we do. Okay, you guys want to come up to the podium? Just please introduce yourself and let us know what's on your mind.
Good evening. Thank you for letting us come in to talk to you. I'm Sheriff Burton Finalto and the Under Sheriff Blaine Barney. We're purchasing a traffic trailer. It basically has the speed limit posted. It has radar, shows what speed they're going. If they're going too fast, red and blue lights go off. Basically to kind of bring awareness to people's speed. But as far as for your ordinance for trailers, I'm asking for a exemption for law enforcement so that can be within the ordinance that you have for the city. What you do is you park the trailer for somewhere for like a week or two, put cones around it, but I don't want to have to leave a vehicle attached to it, so that takes up a lot more space. But I want to put it next to the schools, different places around town where we have different traffic problems where people are reporting speeding. So it does log it, so it logs what the speeds are, what people going by. So it's kind of a useful information of what's actually happening when law enforcement's not present. So, but we're asking for a deviation or an exception for law enforcement. We'll mark it as it's law enforcement so that people don't complain that it's a trailer set on the street, not attached to a vehicle. So,
Yeah, may I ask what brought you to the decision to get a trailer?
say that again?
Can I ask you what brought you to the decision to buy
Well, I've been
this
looking
trailer?
at them for several years, and at the sheriff conference, the guy finally sold me on them, because I started looking at just getting ones to put near the schools. And the time you put 2 or 3, 4 of them up, you got the same amount of money in it, and you can't move it around. So we looked at buying just one of those. that are-
We looked at buying a sign like the school traffic signs, and then we could move it around. But by the time you put the bases in and that kind of stuff, and then having to contact the city to put bases in here and there, and then us move it, it would just be time consuming and just easier to move a trailer around 2 different locations, instead of having to put a base in and cement and that kind of stuff. And so this way we can sit it there for 2-3 weeks. We can hook back onto it with a vehicle. We can move it out on the 24. We can move it to 70. We can move it all over the county. So that way it's not just used in one spot. It's used all over.
The main reason I decided to do it is I've watched them at different towns and just sit back and watched how people actually, it slows people down. And it makes them realize that, yeah, I am going too fast. So it's just more of awareness. Instead of us having to sit there or be there all the time, which we can't be at every school, we can move the trailer around different places. So
What's the cost of a trailer? I'm just curious.
I'm not sure. I think it's about 7,000, but I can't remember the number.
You said it logs something?
What's that?
You said it logs?
Yeah, it does
Log?
logging. It logs the speeds that it tracks and stuff. And so-
It doesn't know whose car it is or anything, it just logs speeds, okay?
No, I mean,
Be interesting.
I could ask them if they could do
I was
the
gonna
photo.
say,
They might be able to do the photo after.
Right.
I didn't look at that, but they may have that available also.
I was curious. Very nice.
So the purpose of this is to just bring people's speed to their attention so that they slow down. There's
Correct.
no
I mean,
actual enforcement side of it that will be coming along with.
right. I mean, we're at each of the schools every day, but I mean, we stop as many as we can, but it's an area that it kind of covers gaps and fills in areas that we're not, so. We get reports of people speeding out in the county that constant, and they won't believe us when we say that they're going the speed limit. But this is actually will help in that instant also. Because we go out there and we'll get multiple calls saying, oh, they're speeding past my house. They don't realize it's 55 mile an hour, and they think they're going much faster, but this will also help alleviate some of those issues that we have. And it's certain not just one person on a road, there's multiple people. And then also, if it does show that there's a lot of people, trucks traveling faster than they should when we're not there, then we'll know the enforcement in that area. So, kind of more of an information gathering as we work through the different issues around the county. So, but we want to use it in town also.
You guys have any other questions? Okay. Well, thanks for talking to us. We will take it into
Thank you.
consideration. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to consent agenda. We have A, the 11/20/23 commission meeting minutes, B, the acceptance of the election certification, and C, the appropriation ordinances 2023-23, 2023-23A, and 2023-P23. Any questions, comments, or concerns on those this week?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda items A, B, and C.
I have a motion by Commissioner Redlin,
Second.
second by Commissioner Showalter. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Myers,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Showalter,
Yes.
Redlin,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to ordinances and resolutions, starting with Resolution 1619 to set a public hearing date for property at 1319 Cherry. Zach? Good evening.
So we've been discussing these properties since, I believe, August. It was the beginning of August. Did get a hold of Kathy and Abet, and we did get that lined up, so we are starting to remove the cats out of the properties. We're now at 12 in this property, which we only counted 8 the first time we went in there, and I took pictures of everything. So we have 2 game cameras set up in there just to ensure that we're getting all of the cats out of there. Hopefully, by the time we get through the hearing and everything, we will have all the cats completely out of the dwelling, and then we can move forward with the demolishment. So I brought this to you today so we could set a public hearing and start moving forward with the process, since it is a lengthy process.
So, can I ask, how are things going with the cats? Are we ending up getting most of them down? Are we finding
The
Oh.
vet did find that these cats at 1319 Cherry were healthy enough to rehome. So we are getting them out to different farms in different areas, so they will be rehomed. The cats at the next one were not that story.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments or concerns here? Looks like the hearing date would be set on the 16th of January.
I would move to approve Resolution 1619, setting the hearing date for January 16th at 5 o'clock for the public hearing for 1319 Cherry.
I have a motion by Commissioner Showalter.
I'll
Second.
second.
Second by Commissioner Howard. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Redlin,
Yes.
Showalter,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to B, Resolution 1620. Same thing, only property at 516 West Highway 24, Lot 409.
So we moved to this house. We were able to actually capture some of them with nets and different methods, and the vet did determine that they were not healthy enough to rehome. And these were probably the healthier looking of the cats that we were able to actually catch. So those 7 were put down. Once we get all of the cats out of the 1319 Cherry property, then we will be putting 12 traps at a time inside the trailer to try and remove as many as we can at a time, to try and reduce the cost of having to take them up to St. Francis to have them humanely put down.
I guess the question I have on all that is, I mean, that's, the cost for all that is gonna end up being fairly considerable, I would imagine. Is that a cost that we are eating? Is that a cost that will be assessed towards property?
That'll be a cost that is part of the demolition.
Okay.
She's not gonna be able to pay it.
Hmm?
She's not gonna be able to pay it, no. The property owner.
I don't know with, so the properties out at the trailer park, we have had pretty good luck with the owner of the trailer park dealing with those properties. Do we not feel like this is gonna be the same case here?
I do feel it's the same case, I just wanted to bring it in the public format so everybody was on the same page.
Okay.
Go through the process of everything, that way, once you guys gave the go-ahead, he then had permission to remove the trailer.
Perfect.
I do have one question, Mayor, for Zach, or just wanted to clarify. On some of the documents here, it says lot 406, and then on the title, it says 409 for
It
the
is
agenda.
406.
It is 406? Okay. So we had that wrong on the agenda. I apologize for
Okay.
that.
No problem. Any other questions, concerns?
I'll move to approve Resolution 1620.
Have a motion by Commissioner Redlin,
Second that.
second by Commissioner Showalter. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Howard,
Yes.
Redlin,
Yes.
Showalter,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zach.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you, Zach. Move on to C, which is Resolution 1621, which is for the Neighborhood Revitalization Plan amendments and extensions. Kent?
Ashley Manis, the county clerk, brought this to our attention that the neighborhood revitalization plan has an expiration at the end of the year. As we had talked about it at last meeting, whether we wanted any changes or not. Since there are no changes to go forward, the resolution before you would authorize an extension to the agreement for that neighborhood revitalization plan to be offered for the next 3 years.
Do you have any questions or concerns?
I'll move to approve Resolution 1621.
A motion by Commissioner Redlin,
Second.
second by Commissioner Myers. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Myers,
Yes.
Redlin,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Showalter,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to formal actions. We have the Goodland Public Library contract. Kent?
This is an annual renewal of the library contract, which I'm trying to get to within the agenda packet. But and Mary put together the CCCF for you. But the agreement basically sets up the relationship we have with Sherman County, where they pay $25,000 for the services that the library offers, and then it ends up being part of our budget. So this just continues the agreement for another year.
Anybody have any questions on this one?
Make a motion to approve the library contract.
I have a motion by Commissioner Showalter,
Second.
second by Commissioner Redlin. Any further discussion? Roll, please.
Howard,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Showalter,
Yes.
Redlin,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay, and then we have the 2024 cereal malt beverage licenses. Kent?
And I apologize for not the correction. I wasn't here for the last 3 days last week for the additional names within the CCCF form, but they are included in a worksheet underneath that. I'll ask Mary Volk if there's any update as far as pending inspection approvals.
Nope, they stand as they were last week.
So as the worksheet is provided for you, All three entities for consumption on the premise have completed all their requirements. Pizza Hut, Mom's Kitchen, Goodland KOA. And then for the in-original and unopened containers, not for consumption on the premise, Casey's, 24/7, and Cowboy Corner Express have all completed the requirements. Corner Market, Walmart, Dollar General, and Goodland Travel Center are still completing one item or another of the inspections that are required for the licensing. And this is for 2024 licenses.
I'm just curious, what does the inspection involve?
Involves three different departments, involves building inspection, involves the police department as well as the fire department. And for additional information, I would have to check with the heads of those departments to tell me exactly what is required.
For the safety of the building to ensure that it's not falling apart, there's fire safety and all the typical building codes are being met.
Police department does background checks, those are done.
And the fire department, I know they look at fire extinguishers, fire suppression systems, making sure there's correct distance in between the fuse panel boxes and all the access panels and everything like that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, I will make a motion to approve cereal malt beverage licenses for consumption on the premises for Pizza Hut, Mom's Kitchen, and the Goodland KOA, and for the original and unopened containers not for consumption on the premises for Casey's General Store, 24/7 Travel Store, and the Cowboy Corner Express, and pending inspection approval for the Corner Market, Walmart, Dollar General, and the Goodland Travel Center.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Redlin. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Redlin,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Showalter,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to discussion items. We have a budget amendment regarding the Health and Sanitation Fund. Kent?
City Clerk Mary Volk has brought this to our attention. And it's basically an amendment because of the change in contract with the, in the can, for our sanitation services in town. Because that was done after the budget for 2023 was approved in September of 2022. And then we changed the contract and increased the amount both in revenue that's received and also expenditures to pay in the can. And that started, as far as the increased cost for sanitation, started in March of 2023. So obviously we have different revenue figures and different expenditure figures for 10 of the 12 months of 2023. We haven't done an amendment until now because we wanted closer to the correct total amount. We have that now. And what we would like to do is set a public hearing for next meeting on December 18th. And in order to amend the budget, you have to hold a public hearing. And so we need to be able to publish that this week and then be able to have the public hearing on December 18th. And then we can, if it's approved and if there's, whether there's comments or anything else made at the public hearing, if the commission approves the amended budget, then we can go ahead and submit that to the state, and the auditors can also have that for the audited expenses and revenues.
Okay, so just to make sure I'm hearing it right, there's not really a difference in the amount of financials. It is, we've collected more money for in the can and we expended more money towards in the can, and this is just to reflect that.
Correct. It's a whole lot of paperwork to cover And it increases the authority for the budget, as it says in the CCCF form, from 560,000 to 605,150. So it's an additional, basically 44,900. And it's basically the expenditure side. That's the issue with the budget. You can always collect more money than what you budget. It's just whether you're allowed to spend it or not. So that's what the budget hearing is for.
Any questions? Okay,
We'll have the budget hearing, and then we'll take a formal vote at the end of that hearing on the approval of the
Yeah,
change in budget.
just like our typical public hearings. We'll hold the public hearing and then we'll have a item later in the agenda to approve the amended budget.
Okay.
I suppose we need an official motion to have the budget hearing.
That would be helpful. It's not required, but it would be helpful to direct staff to go ahead and set it up.
In that case, I will move that we have a budget hearing regarding the amendment of the 2023 budget regarding the Health and Sanitation Fund for next meeting, December 18th at 5 p.m.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Howard. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Showalter,
Yes.
Redlin,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay, next discussion item is the police chief's truck being moved over to the water wastewater department.
Mayor, members of the commission, this idea was brought to me by Police Chief Earhart, as well as Superintendent Thornburg with the water department as a possibility. Jason, if you could just give a couple sentences regarding the police chief's truck and why we want to do what we want to do.
So the police chief truck, it's 2020, 1500 Chevy. It's not necessarily good for city driving. It has no storage, has no toolboxes in the back, anything like that. So it has about 33,000 miles. It was purchased in 20 for $33,000. Blue Book's trade-in value, I believe, is anywhere from 24,000 to 26,000. Private party value is just a little bit higher than that. So what I would like to do is, I spoke with Neil, and he has 25,000 for a new vehicle. I would like to transfer, or give him the pickup and have him transfer the money into our account. And I would like to purchase an additional Dodge Durango from Kansas Highway Patrol. Just a little more conducive to city driving. I don't understand, I guess I don't understand why the pickup was purchased for the police, or at the time, why it was purchased. So it's just not a police vehicle. It would make more sense, and I would rather help Neil out than trying to sell it outright. And we're just about right at how much it's worth. It has a little bit of hail damage. All the equipment inside of the vehicle can be used in the new Durango, as far as lights, sirens, things like that. So we would have to purchase anything additional besides that extra 4,000 to get the 29,000 for the new Durango. However, that can be covered because we were approved for a new vehicle, and obviously it's going to be much less, the 29,000 for the original Durango. So that's kind of the theory behind that.
The other part of this is the water and water department has set aside 25, or has in reserve, the municipal equipment reserve fund has 25,000 set aside for a vehicle. And so if we redesignate those funds from the water department to the police department, is all we're trying to do. It's not actually giving Jason a check of $25,000.
Yeah.
It's just transferring it to a different line item. in the reserve fund to be used by the police department. So,
I'm assuming Neil is perfectly happy with this.
We have
Come on up.
Come on now.
We actually have a 3/4 ton pickup that we've been using for meter reading and meter changing. And it makes more sense to downsize to a smaller vehicle. And we don't need a 3/4 ton to change meters or do meter reading.
Sure.
So we were gonna downsize anyway, just hadn't got to that point yet. And Jason brought the idea up and win-win for both.
Yeah, sounds like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's good for everybody. So as long as you guys are both happy with it, I don't see why there should be an issue.
okay. We'll make it happen.
Thank you.
Yep, Thanks,
you.
guys. All right, any other discussion items this evening? Okay, let's move on to reports, starting with our city manager, Kent.
Included in your packet was the manager memo as well as the month-end budget report for November, the fund balance report. Notice our totals are 14,800,000 that we have listed through all the funds at this point. The street department has also completed the construction of the airport gate. However, we don't have the opener is not arrived as yet. It's still supplies as usual. Has delayed that, but there is a different gate now at the airport. Hopefully, once we get the actual opener with it as well, well, and it already is, prevents unrestricted access to the tarmac of the airport, at least through right next to the terminal. They can drive down behind the hangars to get to the along the backside of the hangars. They can still get to the runways if someone chose to.
Mm-hmm.
But we've had more than a couple incidents this year where people are just ended up driving out onto the tarmac, and that's what we're hoping to stop at this point. So, or at least reduce and make it a little bit harder for them to get to it. Doesn't make it as obvious. And both couple different times they had ended up asking people at the airport, and they were surprised, or they didn't understand where they were driving to. So,
Which I suppose if you're not familiar with airports in any way and you're driving out there for the first time, I mean, you're driving on the concrete. If you don't know, you don't know. But
that could be, yes.
I don't know either.
The standpipe roof project, they made significant progress today. I didn't have a chance to ask Neil. Did they finish with the roof today, or did they?
Yes, the roof is on.
The roof is on, but are they completely finished, or?
They will come back when the weather allows to paint the inside and outside of the roof.
Okay,
But they'll do some cleanup in the morning and chlorinate it, and we should be able to start using it again.
okay. So they did lift the roof today, and they got it finished to a point where they can head out of town tomorrow with it. So that is a relief to have the new roof on. So, and where was the old roof at this point?
It's on the ground right now. They're evidently cutting it up tonight, so we can get it loaded up in the morning and get it out of there.
Okay, okay. So that's the situation with the standpipe in Memory Park. You can actually see something poking out the top now, so that is different. We did also have a request over the last couple weeks now, when the nativity scene, when the people were interested in the nativity scenes being set up in Rosewood Park. They had mentioned that they were going to get solar lighting, and they weren't requesting lighting at this time. Well, it did get set up, and the solar lighting did not do as well as they had hoped, and then they immediately started asking us about electrical. And our crews, both Danny and Dustin, had said or had investigated regarding the electrical for that area. And Dustin, why don't you come up and say a few words about the electrical for that area?
So the request was to provide, see if there was enough capacity over there for the lights. I went over there, checked our wires big enough. That was my main concern. I didn't know if it was going to be big enough because it comes from east behind Dennis Molson's house, underground, about a curb on his property, clear over to the corner of that. And then all of the lights in the park are transitioned to LED. The street lights are LED. The pump for the sprinklers won't be running during the winter time. Danny does have a heater on in the bathroom, but there should be enough capacity to provide electrical. We don't know what they want or who needs to provide that. So
The other question that came up for us, both among staff members, you know, is obviously the cost, and also we were originally thinking that was going to require a lot more work and probably some boring. It was probably a project for next year, not really for this year, for this nativity scene. If, like we said, this was a 1 year, and see if we would want to, you know, keep it going after that. But it still would be, in order to get lighting to each of where the scenes are located, there would need to be additional runs done, and then pad them up, you know, so they could have outlets at different locations, so it wouldn't have to be run so far. So obviously that's going to be additional cost in order to get that done, and that has not been, haven't given a price tag or anything else regarding it. But is that just like it was when we first talked about it, is it community cost, or is it the people setting this up type of cost involved with it? So, because, and then Dustin reminded me just before the meeting, they did quite a bit of work at the hospital grounds in order to set it up so they would have power at a number of different locations around the hospital grounds. And I wouldn't say they, it was the city did an awful lot of, did a lot of little stuff to get that set up for the hospital grounds. So that was that situation.
and that infrastructure for that is still there. The wire that drops down to the receptacles, the poles, all of that stuff is still there. It was never taken down.
Yeah, I'm not sure why, at least it's my understanding that the hospital was never approached about putting the scene back up this year. I don't know why they didn't approach them first, since it was all set up originally. But
They'd made mention during one of the conversations we had that they didn't like the area just because of the weather and the wind.
yeah,
Is what they'd said.
that
And
actually-
also vandalism was an issue.
There was a couple of different issues. I think if they, you know, get to that point where they want to add that electrical work, that might be a great project for the community foundation, maybe to fund that work through us, that we can do that. But that's a good use for those funds.
Yeah, and I really view it as a project for next year. It's not really something to slap together right now.
Yep.
To be able to get done.
Well, whatever it costs right now, it'll be double next year, so.
Thank you, Jason, for pointing that out.
It's been my experience.
Sounds like a good springtime conversation.
That is one thing that's occurring. Any additional questions on the nativity scenes or anything else? Or any other directions?
I had a question about the apartment building over by the park across from the Catholic Church. Is there any movement on that? Any documents provided that we requested last meeting?
Sorry? No?
No, they haven't.
Okay.
They have, did have, obviously the stoplights as per the resolution were removed on 11. Temporary stop signs were installed. Street Department today was drilling today for stop signs. I don't know whether that.
They're installed. There was one up on the way here. so-
Yep.
No,
They're
there you
installed.
go. So they're permanent stop signs, not permanent. They can be removed if need be, but the regular stop signs are installed at this point for that intersection. Another thing that has come up, and I might need the IT director's, Josh's assistance with that, although it involves Neil's department, but you may have remembered from a couple, 3 months ago, we brought a request to purchase new radios for the water department, for the water treatment plant and for the wells, that type of thing. Well, we've come up with another cost.
Of course.
Of course.
What'd you do that for?
Because of the software that's involved, so, Josh.
Yeah, so the software that actually runs the SCADA system, the version that we have out there currently is version 10.1.300, which came out in approximately 2011. So in the conversations with doing this, apparently that part got slipped through everything else, and I believe the cost was around $57.50 or $57.45, something like that, for the licensure that we actually need for them to do all of their reprogramming and all of that. So all the other costs, as far as the software and hardware for the IT side, is already done. It's sitting there, so it's just that one piece of software to actually run the SCADA system that we did not have until, well, we actually still don't have it, but we're working on getting it acquired so they can do the full upgrades to that system that's required. It's like 5745 or something. I know it was 5700 something.
5745.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for writing that down earlier.
Yes, when you told or showed it to me. You may have seen a couple stories within the last week or two that there's been significant cyber attacks on PLC software, which is exactly what, and Josh had it pointed out at the conference he was at last week, the cybersecurity conference. Was it cybersecurity or was it something else?
It was Certified Hacker Forensic Investigator class. So to get an EC Council certification and being a forensic investigator for all things digital. So.
But there was a water system in Pennsylvania, and there's also been a couple others across the country that have been specifically attacked because of different software issues.
Yeah. Most of the time it was a direct internet-facing PLC from Unitronics. However, at this point, none of ours are internet-facing. All of them are behind segmented firewalls and things like that. So our exposure on those are very, very minimal.
Minimal.
If the systems aren't completely air-gapped, like the power plant I know has some Unitronics PLCs, but
Sure they do.
But anyway, we are gonna go ahead and move ahead with the software that will help us connect our radio systems.
And in doing so, with that software, we're also segmenting the networks for that. So the wastewater, even though there's technically only going to be 2 computers, so a server and a computer, to access that SCADA system, we're also moving things into 3 different networks to provide an additional layer of segmentation for security purposes. So
Could you draw me like a Venn diagram?
Sure.
Of what we got going on?
yeah, I'll email it to you later.
Okay.
If I do the full thing, we'll have to do it under probably one of the executive sessions for security because I don't want to give out too much.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, yeah, I mean, it sounds like something we need to get done. So, yeah.
Thank you, Josh.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
And I think that's all I have at this point.
You have any questions or concerns for our city manager this evening?
Not at this time.
Okay, we'll move on to commissioner reports. Start down here on my left with Commissioner Redland,
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Howard,
Nothing at this time.
Commissioner Myers,
Nothing at this time.
Commissioner Showalter,
Nothing particular, just was receiving the phone calls, as I'm sure you guys all did, about the stoplights, so.
Okay, for mayor's report, I just want to add, we did talk about this topside tip-off this weekend. If you are free and have not volunteered to help out in some sort or another, there are always ways that you can volunteer to help out to put on another great tournament this year. So I know Shauna is probably still looking for some people to take tickets and anything else necessary around the outside edges. So if you're looking for a way to volunteer your time this weekend, hit her up. With that, I will make a motion to move into executive session under the authority of KSA 75-4319B1 for personnel matters for non-elected personnel. I would like the commission up here for a period of 15 minutes.
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Howard. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Call this meeting back to order. Anything else from anybody this evening? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Redland,
Second.
second by Commissioner Showalter. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
I did say aye.